So what if the universe has, like, a literal heartbeat?
Right, yeah.
And I don't mean that as some metaphor for the interconnectedness of life or whatever. I mean a physical, measurable pulse.
Oh, literal frequency.
Exactly. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are opening up this fascinating 2023 philosophical text you brought to us.
Oh, yeah, by an author named Shui Feng.
Right, Shu Feng. And the text is titled Classification and Application of Spirit. And honestly, right off the bat, the premise here is just wild.
It really is. It takes everything we think we know and just flips it.
Yeah, it suggests that the things we usually, shove into the box labeled mystical things like evil spirits or physical manifestations of compassionate deities like bodhisattvas,
Mm-hmm.
that they aren't supernatural at all. It claims they are just physical vibrations in extreme weather events.
Yeah, it's a framework that attempts to completely dismantle the wall between quantum physics and ancient spirituality.
And it's ambitious, to say
Yeah.
the least.
It is. You are essentially looking at an attempt to map a deeply religious concept onto a very rigid mechanical universe.
Right.
But the title you mentioned, it actually plays a bit of a trick on you.
Oh, how so?
Well, within this specific framework, there is absolutely no classification of spirit at all. Because, according to Shofeng, there is only one spirit in existence. Period.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we dive into the mechanics of how this all works, we really need to set the parameters for you, the listener, as you explore this deep dive with us.
Definitely. It gets complicated fast.
It really does. This text makes these massive, sweeping, foundational claims about the origin of consciousness and, frankly, the literal structure of reality.
Right, it does not hold back.
No, it doesn't. And we are not here to validate these claims, right? Or to endorse this specific model as absolute truth.
Right. We're strictly reporters here.
Exactly. Our objective is strictly to pull apart the internal logic of the framework. We want to look at how it reconstructs human psychology, nature, and this whole concept of spirit.
And that internal logic relies heavily on just completely redefining terminology.
Totally.
I mean, to grasp how any living being interacts with this concept of spirit, we first have to look at the literal physical definition the author provides.
And it's not what you'd expect.
Not at all. In this model, spirit is not an ethereal ghost. It is not like some translucent energy cloud floating around.
Which is how pop culture usually defines it.
Right. Instead, it is a literal, continuous vibration wave, and it's emitting directly from the heartbeat of what is referred to as the greatest creator.
And it comes with a highly specific measurement, which blew my mind.
Oh, yeah. The numbers.
Right. The text claims this wave operates at exactly 1 hertz, 1 cycle, or 1 beat per second.
It's incredibly precise.
It is. And it acts as this invisible engine driving all movement and change in the material world, right down to the literal heartbeats of biological life.
Yeah.
But then it makes this massive leap, right? Anchoring this 1 hertz pulse directly to quantum physics.
What's fascinating here is how the framework tries to borrow from cutting-edge science to explain its version of the divine.
Yeah, it brings in superstring theory.
Exactly. So it takes the concept of superstrings, the idea in physics that the fundamental ingredients of the universe aren't tiny dots of matter, but these microscopic vibrating loops of energy.
Right, vibrating strings.
And the text claims that these superstrings are, in fact, the exact spirit of the creator.
I was trying to visualize the physics of that when I read it because the scale seems wildly contradictory to me.
How do you mean?
Well, a 1 hertz wave is massive. It's a slow, steady pulse, like the ticking of a grandfather clock. Tick, tick.
Right. Very slow.
So how does a macroscopic 1 beat per second wave dictate the behavior of subatomic quantum strings that are vibrating at incomprehensible ultra-fast speeds?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Under this model, you have to think of the 1 hertz wave not as the only frequency, but as the master baseline frequency.
Okay, a baseline.
Right. It is the fundamental tension applied to those microscopic strings.
Oh, like tuning an instrument.
Exactly. In the same way that tightening a guitar string changes how it can vibrate, this universal 1 hertz pulse provides the underlying tension. It allows all the other complex, hyper-fast vibrations of matter to even exist.
Wow.
Yeah, it's described as the primary eternal driving force. Without that specific baseline tension, the strings just go slack. Nothing moves, nothing exists.
So if I am trying to apply a modern analogy here, is it essentially like the universe having a single underlying cosmic Wi-Fi router broadcasting on a 1 hertz frequency.
Okay, I like where this is going.
And every single living thing, every rock, every planet is just a device running on that one network.
The Wi-Fi analogy gets us halfway there, but it breaks down a little when you consider the nature of devices.
Why is that?
Well, you can turn off the Wi-Fi on your laptop, and the laptop still exists as a physical object on your desk.
Well,
But
true. It just can't connect to the internet.
exactly. But in this framework, turning off the connection means you literally cease to exist. You aren't just receiving the signal, your physical and structural reality is being actively generated by it.
That is intense.
No.
But I guess my analogy does hit on the core problem the text tries to address next.
Which is?
Well, if this 1 hertz pulse is blasting evenly across all time and space, why do some people seem deeply tuned into it, like what we might call highly spiritual people, while others are just completely oblivious?
Yeah, it's a great question.
I mean, the universe isn't turning the volume up for some people and down for others.
No, it's an even broadcast. And according to the author, the difference entirely comes down to the concept of receptivity.
Okay.
The text uses a very grounded physical model to explain this. Imagine a gentle, constant drizzle falling from the sky.
Just a light rain.
Right. Now imagine placing 4 objects out in that open rain. You've got a sponge, a towel, a solid wooden block, and a solid iron block.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
They all have the exact same surface area exposed to the sky. They're all sitting in the exact same environment. But the physical results of the rain hitting them are drastically different.
Because of their internal architecture.
Exactly.
The sponge soaks up a massive amount of water because it is porous. It's mostly just empty space inside.
Right.
The towel takes in some, but definitely less than the sponge.
Hmm.
The wood might get a little damp on the surface, but the iron block just repels it completely. The water runs right off.
Precisely. And this is the central metaphor for human consciousness in this framework. The 1 hertz vibration is the drizzle,
Okay.
the capacity to absorb it, to actually resonate with that baseline frequency, depends entirely on the internal structure of a person's mind. Or their heart, as the text puts it.
Which fundamentally flips how we usually talk about emptiness.
Oh, absolutely.
In so much of our daily lives, emptiness is seen as a negative. It is a void, or a lack of purpose, or a lack of knowledge.
We're taught to fill ourselves up.
Right. But here, emptiness is pure physics. It is a measure of capacity. Does this mean that a solid heart, maybe one stuffed with ego or rigid beliefs, literally lacks the physical bandwidth to resonate with this universal frequency?
Yes, that's exactly it. Emptiness is the hollow space in the sponge.
Wow.
The text concludes that the variation we see in people, their spiritual power or their perception, is strictly determined by how empty they are.
So the emptier they are.
The emptier the heart, the closer they get to achieving 100% resonance with that 1 hertz wave.
If we follow the physics of that analogy, a solid heart, the iron block must be dense with something.
Right. It's not just solid naturally.
So if a mind is stuffed to the brim with rigid beliefs, massive ego, anxieties, or just an obsession with the daily news cycle, it literally lacks the structural space to resonate.
The wave hits it and just bounces off.
That is the mechanical trap of being human, according to this model, isn't it? You
Okay.
become too dense to feel the underlying pulse of the universe.
It really is.
But if the ultimate goal is to become a sponge, how does a person actually hollow out their own iron block? I mean, you can't just drill holes in your own psychology.
Well, for the methodology, the author points to an ancient philosophical document. And he treats it essentially as a technical manual for structural hollowing.
Really? A technical manual? Which
The
document?
Hertz Sutra. It's a foundational text in Mahayana Buddhism.
That is so fascinating to see an ancient mystical text deployed as, like, an engineering solution. How does the framework apply it?
It essentially strips away the religious mysticism and focuses purely on the mechanics of perception. The text recounts the realization of Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara,
Okay.
and the core of this realization is that all forms, all feelings, thoughts, and cognitions are fundamentally illusions.
Wait, calling every thought and feeling an illusion is a massive claim.
It is.
Does it mean my senses are actively lying to me?
Yeah.
Like the things I'm seeing and touching aren't real?
In a sense, yes. Because your physical perceptions, seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, they force your brain to process reality through dualistic categorization.
Dualistic meaning opposites.
Exactly. Because you have eyes and skin, your brain naturally divides the world into pairs. Hot versus cold, good versus evil, life versus death, ego versus non-ego.
So the very act of perceiving the physical world creates all these data points that clutter the mind.
Right. You're constantly
So
sourced.
I see a situation, I immediately judge it as bad or unfair, and suddenly I have generated this anxiety that takes up space in my internal sponge.
Exactly. The sutra argues that the true baseline nature of existence doesn't actually contain these dualities.
They're just artifacts of our biology.
Right, they are fabrications generated by our biological hardware. These endless categorizations and worries are the actual material that makes up the iron block.
They are the density that blocks the 1 Hertz wave.
You've got it.
Okay, so to clear out that density, the text highlights a specific tool from the sutra, right?
Yeah.
The great spiritual mantra. And it translates roughly to go, go, go. Go to the other shore with transcending wisdom. Go to the realm of freedom. Go to attain enlightenment soon. Just go.
Yeah, it reads almost like an aggressive pattern interrupt.
It really does. Just go.
The transcending wisdom it talks about isn't about learning a new set of facts. It is about recognizing the flawed nature of the physical data you are receiving and actively refusing to store it.
Refusing to let it take up space.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean? Let's look at the mechanical equation this builds.
Okay, let's map it out.
If you use this transcending wisdom, you achieve freedom from worry. Freedom from worry clears the clutter, which results in an empty mind.
Right.
And an empty mind is essentially a highly porous sponge, which allows for 100% resonance with the Creator's 1 Hertz spirit.
Perfect resonance.
And because that spirit is eternal, syncing perfectly with it means you attain eternal life.
That is the exact logical through line the author makes. The concept of attaining nirvana, or reaching what the text calls the Elysium world, is entirely re-engineered here.
It's not a place you go when you die.
No, not at all. It isn't a magical realm. It is a state of perfect frequency matching that you achieve while you are alive.
That is wild.
Yeah.
Okay, if the ultimate goal of existence is to achieve perfect resonance with this one fundamental wave, what happens when something fundamentally rejects it?
Yeah. The dissonance.
Right. If a person or an entity is vibrating at a completely different chaotic frequency, how does the universe categorize that?
Well, that question leads directly to how this framework redefines the supernatural.
Oh, this is the part I was waiting for.
Yeah, it strips all the folklore out of concepts like evil spirits and reduces them entirely to wave physics.
So an evil spirit isn't like a demon with horns hiding in the shadows.
Not at all. In wave mechanics, there is a phenomenon called destructive interference.
Okay, I remember this from high school physics.
Right, so if you have a baseline wave and you introduce a second wave that is completely out of phase with it, meaning the peaks of one wave perfectly match the troughs of the other, they cancel each other out.
They destroy the wave.
Exactly. It creates dissonance and destruction.
And the text applies that physics to consciousness.
Yes. An evil spirit is simply defined as any vibration that opposes the 1 Hertz spirit of the Creator.
Oh, wow.
So if a living individual forcefully confronts or opposes this natural baseline frequency, either through their actions or just their extreme mental density, they themselves become an evil spirit.
That completely reframes the whole concept of evil.
Yeah.
It isn't some malicious cosmic force. It is just extreme structural dissonance.
Right.
It is an entity vibrating so far out of sync with the universe that it generates chaos just by existing.
And because of that physical definition, the text notes that these out-of-phase vibrations, these evil spirits, are everywhere. They're just filling the void. It is a state of being rather than a species of monster.
Okay, reducing evil to destructive wave interference makes a certain kind of cold, mechanical sense. But the framework doesn't stop there.
No, it goes further.
It also redefines manifestations of bodhisattvas. Now, in traditional folklore, a bodhisattva is a deeply compassionate being who delays their own nirvana to help others achieve enlightenment, right?
That's the traditional view, yes.
So how does this text define their physical manifestation?
It defines them as revelations given by the heavens to people.
That sounds nice enough.
But the specific examples the author lists are incredibly jarring. The text explicitly categorizes massive natural phenomena, things like sandstorms, super typhoons, floods, droughts, and even bizarre events like snowfall in June as manifestations of bodhisattvas.
Wait, I am going to push back hard on that logic.
I figured you would.
A super typhoon isn't a gentle revelation. It drowns people. It destroys entire communities. If the ultimate goal of the universe is to help human minds achieve peaceful resonance, how does unleashing a deadly flood qualify as an act of compassion? Destroying the physical vessel seems totally counterproductive.
I get it. It sounds brutal. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, you have to view it through the lens of the iron block problem we discussed earlier.
The density problem.
Right. In this model, humanity is collectively dense. We are utterly trapped in the illusion of our senses. We're obsessing over our daily dualities, our jobs, our perceived enemies, our accumulation of wealth.
We have sealed ourselves off from the fundamental frequency.
Exactly. We're stuck in the illusion.
And an iron block does not gently hollow itself out.
Precisely. How do you shatter an illusion of control that has solidified over an entire society? You cannot do it gently. You must introduce an undeniably massive, reality-breaking shock.
So a freak weather event, like a blizzard in the middle of summer, forces a glitch in the matrix, essentially.
Yes, a super typhoon instantly shatters a person's obsession with trivial daily anxieties. You aren't worrying about your email inbox when the roof is tearing off.
Fair point.
It forces them to confront the raw, immense, uncontrollable power of nature. From the framework's perspective, the physical body is already part of the temporary illusion.
Right, the body's just a vessel.
So the compassion of the typhoon is a brutal, desperate attempt to crack the mental solidity of the survivors, shocking them into a state of emptiness so they might actually reconnect with the eternal frequency.
That is a staggering, almost terrifying way to look at natural disasters.
It is very intense.
It treats humanity as a machine that is completely seized up, and extreme weather is the universe taking a sledgehammer to the engine block just to get the parts moving again.
It is a harsh mechanic, for sure, but it remains perfectly consistent with the internal logic of the text. The universe is prioritizing eternal resonance over temporary physical comfort.
Well, the sledgehammer approach brings us to the final and perhaps most provocative redefinition in the text.
Yeah.
We've tackled the physics of evil spirits and the brutality of bodhisattvas. Now we need to look at how this model explains spirit possession.
Right. The author actually splits spirit possession into two distinct categories, which is really interesting. It blends ancient mythology with a very sharp psychological critique.
What's the first category?
The first definition deals with what the text calls the space between yin and yang.
Okay, that sounds more traditional. What is the physics of that space?
It is described as a sort of energetic purgatory. When a person dies, if they carry immense resentment, profound regrets, or deep unresolved earthly desires, their consciousness is simply too dense to transcend.
Too much of an iron block.
Exactly. They cannot sync with the fundamental wave, so they become stuck in this intermediate frequency band between yin and yang.
And then what?
Well, to act out those lingering, dense desires, they must hijack a physical vessel. So they borrow the bodies of the living.
Okay, that definitely aligns with the classic haunted house ghost story.
Yeah.
A dense, chaotic energy forcing its way into a host.
Exactly.
But you mentioned a second category, and this is where the text pivots from a ghost story into a deeply uncomfortable mirror for modern society.
Yeah, the second definition of spirit possession is entirely psychological. The text asserts that a person is possessed when they lack their own original thoughts and will.
Wait, how does not having original thoughts equate to literal possession?
Think about the mechanics of resonance we've been talking about. Your mind is supposed to be an empty space resonating with the 1 Hertz pulse.
Right.
But what happens if you fill that space entirely with the influential thoughts of your ancestors? What if you navigate your life relying solely on the opinions of predecessors or strict dogmas handed down to you to judge present situations?
You are operating on borrowed code.
Exactly. You are allowing the mental frequencies of people from the past to actively pilot your mind in the present. You have outsourced your internal bandwidth to dead ideologies.
Oh, wow.
And because of this, the author arrives at a massive, sweeping conclusion. He states that the majority of humanity is beings possessed by spirits.
Here's where it gets really interesting to apply this to you, the listener, living in the present day.
Oh, definitely.
Because we don't just inherit thoughts from our ancestors anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We're constantly fed a stream of thoughts from algorithms.
Social media.
Right. If you scroll through a social media feed, absorb the outrage, adopt the talking points, and regurgitate them as your own worldview without ever critically examining them. Under this model, you are actively participating in your own possession.
It is the ultimate modern manifestation of the iron block.
It really is.
If your mind is vibrating at the chaotic, high-stress frequencies of 1,000 different borrowed opinions, there is absolutely zero hollow space left. The baseline 1 Hertz wave of reality cannot penetrate the noise.
So you're blocked out.
You are technically alive, but your structure is vibrating to the tune of a machine, not the universe.
And it is terrifying because we usually frame our ability to consume endless information as a sign of intellectual power.
We celebrate it.
Right. We think we are making our minds stronger by adding more data, more opinions, more perspectives, but this entire text argues the exact opposite.
Which really serves as the perfect synthesis of Shuofeng's framework. The utilization of the creator's spirit is not an act of accumulation. It is entirely an act of subtraction.
It requires an active, persistent hollowing out of the self, refusing to let the illusions of the senses force you into dualistic stress,
Yeah.
refusing to let borrowed, unexamined opinions clutter your bandwidth.
Once you achieve that emptiness, once you hollow out the sponge, you don't have to strain to find the divine spirit. Resonating with the 1 Hertz fundamental frequency is simply the default physical state of an empty vessel.
It is brilliant in its mechanical simplicity, yet it describes a state of being that is almost impossibly difficult for a modern human to achieve.
Oh, absolutely. It's a lifelong challenge.
And for you, taking all this in, this is the true value of exploring texts like this on a deep dive. Whether or not you buy into the literal existence of a 1 Hertz wave pulsing from the greatest creator, the framework provides a profound diagnostic tool for your own psychology.
It forces a hard look at the structural density of your own mind. Are you moving through the world with hollow spaces, able to absorb and flow with reality, or have you solidified into something rigid?
I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over, building directly on the mechanics we've explored today.
Okay.
This text asserts that freedom from worry creates the emptiness required for perfect, eternal resonance. But look closely at the architecture of the modern world you navigate every day.
It's noisy.
It runs on the monetization of attention and the constant generation of anxiety. If the ultimate physiological goal of existence is to sync with a slow, steady, peaceful baseline pulse, what frequency is our society actually designed to sync you to?
That's a great question.
Because right now, the world seems expertly engineered to ensure you never have a hollow space left. See if you can find a way to carve out a little bit of emptiness today. Until next time.